Welcome to 40 Below Zero, an international podcast about life with invisible illnesses, hosted by two guys living with multiple sclerosis. Coming to you from the Keystone State of Pennsylvania, I'm your co-host Nix, and with me on this ride is Terry, a Londoner who calls Ontario home. We're so happy you're here with us as we continue to try and normalize a life that is anything but. So let's get into it. What's up, Warriors? Glad you're back with us for another episode. And to all of our supporters, it's lovely to see you again as well. Terry, here we are again, my friend.
What's up?
How are
Man?
you?
Yeah, no, I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing good. Finally coming down off the steroids. Finally got through the course of that. So now my heart's not racing while I'm sitting still anymore, which is nice. And it's nice to not be. Do you ever experience a feeling of being like over medicated? Because that's how I felt over the last 2 weeks. Because on top of everything else that I take, so the gabapentin, the dalfampridine, like all these other things,
Yeah.
then I have to put a steroid on top of that. And I just felt like I had so much medication in my system that I didn't even know which end was up. So thankfully, Kit was very patient with me over the last couple of days.
Yo, man, prednisone is not a joke.
No. and and not to relive the whole story, but I did have the follow up with my doctor, and he said, "Well,
Okay.
it was nice to hear that you were able to tolerate the steroids at home." And I thanked him for letting me go home because he could have said no, and um, it was nice to just not be there. So anyway, that's that.
Just so you know, infusion's a lot easier than taking the pill form.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I have my Ocrevus coming up on Friday, so just
Oh,
finishing up with one medication and right into the other. So
that's right. You did mention that. Are you going through the crap gap?
yeah, and I believe that played a part into why I ended up in the hospital anyway.
Okay.
It all,
Sucks.
yeah, it all just kind of, how it is, man. It all just kind of hits. Um, I know we have a guest who's going to be joining us a little later on the show, and we'll talk more about that as we get into things.
Yeah.
Um,
She should be
but
here soon, maybe in 20 minutes. But yeah, I got something to talk to you about.
good. Otherwise, I'll just start rambling. So,
Dude, I'm about to ramble. Yo, I'll never forget the day I underestimated my strength and shattered my toilet. Yes, it's a washroom story, but I
new
didn't
year,
pee.
new you, Terry.
Dude, I didn't pee myself, so it's not that kind of a story.
Good. We're making
Okay.
progress.
Thanks, bro. So, man, how do I tell you this story? I'm okay. Everything's okay. Whatever I say, everything's okay. I'm fine. So, I went to use the washroom. I navigated my wheelchair into the washroom and
Hmm.
I did my whole pivot thing. I stand up, I pivot, and you know what I realized is
Mm.
socks help me pivot. I realized this
Ooh.
after the fact. I'm thinking, I'm thinking and thinking like, what happened? I realized socks help me pivot because I can slide my feet. And if my
Uh,
feet are, and sometimes you need your feet on bare tile without socks because you need it to stick for more grip. But this case, I needed the socks so I can pivot. So I pivot. I'm standing. I'm standing in front of my toilet and I have these
hmm
grab bars and my knees start to buckle. Now,
Ooh.
I can go back on my chair, and you always go through experiences and you learn and then you adjust, right?
Right.
Just like, if people are speeding down a road and people start to complain, they add speed bumps, right? From
Right.
experience, they realize, there needs to be a speed bump here. So by experience, and I'm equipped. I thought I was equipped. I'm equipped in every single situation except for this one. So I'm standing there, I'm holding the grab bars. I look behind me, I'm like, what do I do? Do I go back on my chair? Do I go on the floor? Or do I just push? Because I know it's 2 feet behind me. Usually I move my feet back, I take a little step and I sit down, right?
Makes sense.
This time I couldn't move my feet. I was not wearing socks, so I couldn't really shuffle my feet back a bit. I was tired. It was 11:30 p.m. So it was nights. I had no one, and I live alone. Do I need to reiterate that every time? I live alone. So I'm holding the grab bar and I push and I go back and I catch the bowl, the toilet seat. So I'm happy. I'm like, yeah. As I land, man, there's a shelf behind my head. Bang.
Ooh.
So hard. I'm
Oh.
okay. Everything's okay. So hard. That's not the beginning of the story, man. I recollect my thoughts. I'm like, okay, what's going on? I'm okay. Yes, everything's fine. And then all of a sudden, the sound of rushing water.
Oh no.
Dude, the panic is so vivid in my memory. I'm like,
Sure.
what is going on? And I'm thinking, am I hearing things? Is it like, something going on mentally? So I look to my right on the floor and I see gush of water just pouring out.
Mm.
I shattered the porcelain tank. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yep.
Dude, let me show you a picture because I'm the guy with stories and I'm like, no one's going to believe this, man. Can you see it?
Oh wow. Yeah. Look at that.
Dude, I shattered this.
Yes, you did.
I
Holy
shattered it
smokes.
and I didn't even see this because this is my back. This is
Right.
the lower
Right.
back. I shattered it. Water's coming down. Um, the panic. I don't know what to do. I thought, but the one thing I'm grateful for, man, is the watch I bought because I did not have my phone on me.
Okay.
So I got this watch, and to me, it's a toy. I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to use it. It's a toy. You know how everyone gets those emergency watches or
Right.
emergency. So I'm like, I'm never going to use it. I have it as a backup. Everything I have is a backup. And most things I have as a backup, I barely touch. So I use my watch right away and I call my savior.
Mm.
Katrina, come down now. Something I said, come down now. The water broke. That's what I said.
The water.
Because bro, I don't know what to I'm just I'm gone. Like if you know me, I am
Sure.
gone. My mind is just everywhere. So she comes down with a broom because she thinks I like the glass broke. She's
Mm.
like, what's up? She ran down, what's up? And I'm like, dude, and by that time I'm on my chair.
Mm.
I transfer back on my chair. The water is 2 inches above my floor. And
Yeah, no
dude,
doubt. And
I'm
and still running, I imagine.
still running. And I'm so grateful I live on the main floor of my condo. So I don't have to worry about the people below me.
Oh, oh man, I didn't even think about that.
Dude, all I was thinking is I don't care if my floorboards get wrecked, if this whatever happens, as long as I don't have to pay for somebody else's damage and inconvenience somebody else. Cause you know me all about not wanting
Yeah.
to burden anyone. So that's not the end of the story. You got to remember I have one washroom.
Yeah.
When I bought this place, it's 2 bedroom, but one washroom, which is the thing I hate. So you know what I did back in the day? Because now I have one washroom. What am I going to do? Oh, she came down, by the way, and I'm like, you need to shut off the water. I could shut off the water. I know where the water is, but I can't. I can't get on the floor and go behind the toilet bowl. And it's just too difficult for me. And if I did do that, I'd be lying in 2 inches of water. Another thing is, what if I banged my head so hard that I knocked myself out and I fell down in the water and I was out? Dude, that was it. That's the way. I don't want to get
Yeah.
into it, but that's the way for it to end.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that that didn't happen. So she came, she couldn't turn off the water because the freaking nozzle wasn't, it was broken when I first moved in there. It was broken. I never got it fixed because I was like, why? It's okay. I'll get it fixed one day. Dude, if you're gonna have a baby, you're gonna set up your whole home to make sure he doesn't bang his head on tables, right? We always
Yep.
make sure. So
Baby proof the world.
it's the same thing with our disability. You got to make sure every angle is covered. If you see something that could be a problem, even if you're like, hey, what are the chances that I'm going to use that? Fix it. Make sure you're set up. So she
That's
came,
very true.
couldn't turn it off. Panic, panic, panic. Whatever. We got it fixed. We had her. She called her brother. It's a long story, man. We got it turned off. We soaked the floors with these towels. Everything's okay. Damage control, good. But the
Good.
problem is I only have one washroom. It's 11:30, it's 12:30 now at night. I'm getting tired. She's not leaving me alone because she's like, you might have a concussion. I'm like, no, no, I don't have anything. I'm fine. And she's like, I don't care. Well, I'm gonna stay for a couple hours.
Sure.
So yeah, sure. I'm like, cool, no problem. And what am I going to do for washroom? This story is going to drag a bit. What am I going to do for the washroom? So she's like, don't worry. So she took my, what do you call them? The handles that go beside the washroom, the support.
Hmm.
She took them because I can't use a toilet seat without those because if I'm
Well, yeah,
standing
of
up to
course.
transfer, yeah, I'm going to smack into whatever. So she
You're gonna
took it
break the toilet.
upstairs. Yeah. Bro, porcelain, how sharp that is? I didn't know.
Yes.
But Brian, my buddy who came the next day, thank God, I still didn't have a washroom for half that day, but he came and he said the amount of people that cut themselves from that porcelain, you're lucky. So I'm like,
Yep.
really on top of everything? So she took it upstairs. It didn't fit exactly on her toilet, so we could not use her toilet. So I had to stay down, and I bought something as a backup a long time ago. It's embarrassing. No one knows. I put it. I think I might have told you. I might have told everyone here too. But I bought a commode
Oh yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
and I hid it. It's in my bedroom hidden. I put like a cover over it because I don't want
Sure.
anyone to see it. And it's been there
Yeah.
for like 3 years, 2.5 years. Okay. So I'm like, listen, I got this commode, but I don't want to use it. And I don't know what other choice I have.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to pee in a bucket because what am I going to do with a bucket? I have to take it to the shower and dump it. And then I have to wash it. It's going to smell,
It's a lot.
so my, my, what I did is, and it's embarrassing, bro. I cannot believe I'm talking about it here, but I always have things as a backup. So, I have Depends always as a backup.
Sure.
I'm not against them, man. As you heard me talk about in the past, I'm not
Yeah.
against it.
Of course.
I know I got dignity and pride, but dude, I need to be comfortable. So I'm thinking, what do I do? Do I wear this and pee in it all night? Because I'm going to pee 3 times that night. I have a routine. I always pee in the middle of the night. So what do? Wear a Depend and pee in it naturally? Bro, even if I were to wear a Depend in public or whenever I go out, I don't ever want to pee in it. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Because you got to
Yeah.
wash after, and it's just not a comfortable feeling. I
Yeah.
understand it's a good backup, but I'm not ready for that. So what I did is I took it to pen and I cut it up, like I cut the sides so that I can place it in the bucket.
Mm,
So every time I peed right into it. Dude, it was perfect because
there you
I
go.
finished, I picked it up, threw in the garbage. So I had a garbage in the morning, like four. So
Yeah,
that
but
was okay.
that's a dude. There's no shame in that. That's a great inventive way to solve a problem.
Oh man.
Like, what are you gonna do? You're right. In the middle of the night, how are you gonna handle that? You just
Like
gotta do what you gotta do, man. And that was it.
everything's okay now, Thank God I
Good.
had the commode. Thank God, but
Yeah. Yep.
you
I have
gotta
one of those. I have one of those hospital things where it's like the container that they give you. So if you can't get out of bed, it has like the handle and the lid and all.
yeah.
Um, it's just hidden in a closet in case I need it.
It's just hidden in the closet in case you need it. Oof,
Man,
oof, oof. You know what I mean? Like everything's hidden until
yeah, dude,
so
that's a lot, man.
dude,
And
it was a
you're
lot.
right. You're lucky. You have to depend on people in the middle of the night all of a sudden.
Don't use that word anymore. Depend, please.
You have to rely on people.
Dude, ah man. I don't even know what to explain. I don't even know if I have PTSD because of that. But the panic, I was a different person.
Sure. Well, yeah, because you have an uncontrolled water leak in the middle of your house in the middle of the night because realistically you probably would have had to have found wherever the shut off for your entire condo is to shut your entire water down if you can't shut it down at the toilet. So,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and do you even know where that is? I don't, like
Yeah, I do, but it's
not
not easy to
accessible.
get to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have to navigate someone. You have to go in here and it's this one. And it's just tough, man. And
Yeah.
you know what it is? It's that I'm out of my control.
Sure.
And, I want to say that I have a control issue now because I always want to make sure I'm on top of everything. Right. This is why I have backup of everything because I never want to, depend on someone. Oops, I used that word.
Your fault. But no,
So yeah.
and that's what a lot of us strive for. A lot of the sadness, a lot of the depression, a lot of the stuff we deal with comes from the fact that our independence has been taken away from us, that we are people who are used to relying on ourselves to handle whatever situations are presented to us. And then you know, if you were to rewind the clock before the diagnosis, before the wheelchair, and the same exact scenario would happen, you would just turn around and go, "Oh, I just gotta shut the water off. I gotta clean the floor, and then I'll just fix the toilet tomorrow." But
bro.
it's not that easy anymore. So
Just
just another way that highlights, how difficult it can be.
like I brought myself back into that moment right now, and I'm like, oh my god, do we
Sure.
do we move forward? I don't want that to ever happen again. But now I'm set up. I mean, every
Good.
experience you learn and you fix,
Hmm.
and you're
I mean,
prepared.
realistically, if you did not have Katrina to call, you would have had to have called the fire department.
Dude,
You would have.
I don't think I would have.
You would have had to have,
I don't know what I would have done.
because if you can't handle it, you got to have somebody to come help you. And if you don't have anybody,
Now thinking about it, my neighbor is a really cool guy.
you have his number.
Yes. But
Okay.
I at the time, man, I don't know, man. I'm
Yeah, that
just
would have.
grateful for this watch.
There you go. I use mine to track my heart rhythm.
Yeah, whatever.
That's what I
Cool.
use it for.
I mean, it
So,
has that too, but I don't use it for that. But yeah.
man, that's when you said you had a story to tell, I was like, oh, maybe he just didn't make it
Dude,
this time
I
again. And like, I didn't realize you were gonna say I destroyed.
dude, I didn't even so I sat down, I destroyed it. I didn't even pee. I didn't use the
Yeah,
washroom.
well, yeah, sure, you had to get right up.
I got right up and everything. And then 3 hours later, I'm like, I never used the washroom
Hmm.
until right before I went to bed. I'm like, all right, I got to do this, right? But I'm like, yo, I had to pee. What happened? My nerves just took it away.
Yeah,
That
maybe
is
you just
really,
focus on something else.
that was really, so it's all in the mind.
And I don't even know if I've. I'm thinking. I don't even know if that's something that has the. I'm talking about the water supply to the toilet tank. I
Yeah.
don't even know if that's something that has an accessible version. I've only ever seen the one type. Well, maybe two. So there's like the ball joint type, and then there's the screw down type. But other than that,
I don't know, man. I don't know what
well,
you did.
we're talking about being independent.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine that would be one of the things we are talking about. Baby proof in the world.
Yeah.
So maybe that might be something. That's another thing to consider. How easily can you shut off your own water if you need to?
But the thing is, if I were to tell someone, hey, you need to make sure this is covered right here,
Hmm.
most people will look at it and say, nah,
Right.
it's not a big deal
Until it's
until it happens.
Yeah, until it's 11:30 at night, and all of a sudden you decided to drop the old atomic elbow
Dude,
into your porcelain.
I don't, do you think it was my elbow? I think it was my back. I think
Yeah,
I must have smacked into it. It hit the wall.
wrestling move.
So the next morning, my mom's like, "Hey, good morning." I'm not gonna tell her because what is she gonna say? I'm just the guy with the stories every day, you know. I feel like that. I feel like I'm the guy with the stories, And then my trainer Mark, he's like, "Hey, bro, have a good day. Hydrate." Da, 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 da. I'm like, dude,
I
you have
have enough
no
water.
idea what I
All the
went through,
water's on the floor.
dude. All the water is on the floor. Sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So that
You're
was,
right. You always have something, Terry.
dude. I don't want to have something every time. Sorry.
It's okay. Oh yeah, yeah.
And you know what's funny? And I haven't gamed much. I like to game. I haven't
Yes.
gamed much. And that night,
No?
I'm gaming. And then in the middle of that shit, not shit, but in the middle of having to go to the washroom, I came back and I'm like, I gotta get off. I'm sorry. I'm having an issue.
Or were you playing the new Fortnite update?
No, bro. I don't. No. I was playing. You'd like this game, Phasmophobia. It's all about ghost hunting
Yeah, yeah. I remember you telling me that one.
with my EMF reader. And I'm such a kid. Yeah. So
Oh
that
my
is my
goodness.
story.
My goodness, Terry.
Hmm.
You're coming out swinging this year.
I'm looking at my notes, making sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot more confidence since working on my legs and stuff. I have a little more power. I'm not
Good.
trying to walk tomorrow, but I'm just trying to make things easier, you
Yeah,
know?
you said it was one of your goals for this year was that you were really going to push yourself to see how far you could get, which I got to commend you for that because it's super easy to just slink in and say, well, I'm here, I'm done. I don't have to do anything.
Do you remember that one clip I have of I'm on my way out?
Yes.
Screw that, man. I'm not on my way out.
There we go. There's the Terry that I'm looking
Screw
for.
that,
Hey,
you
dude,
know?
you had a moment. It's okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's allowed to have them. We all
Yeah.
feel that way. Trust me. There's, when when the symptoms had started before the new year, and I'm starting to notice my eyes hurting more, and I'm starting to notice my leg, and the thought creeps in. It every time. Is this how it's gonna be forever? Are the steroids gonna knock it back into place? It's so we we all go to that place, Terry, where it's like I'm done. I'm worse off than I was. I'm never going back. But the fact that you recognized it and are going in a whole different direction is commendable. So new year, new you, Terry.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Hopefully, no more stories. Eh.
Nah, there's going to be stories. Well, hopefully there's stories and there's stories of triumph as well. So hopefully
Yeah,
we can
for
track
sure.
your progress as we go along this year.
For sure.
Um,
Yeah.
so I guess other than the shutoff valve, your space is pretty accessible.
Yeah, man. Well, until something else happens. But yeah, no, my place is, you know, I'm the most comfortable in my own home.
Sure, of course.
How else can I put it, right?
Yeah, but you've taken a lot of time and put a lot of thought into really saying what do I need and what does my space look like because of that, instead of saying this is what my condo should look like because for whatever reason, like I'm having people over or I you, you got to make it work for you regardless of it, whatever it looks like. Um, and that is something that I have to deal with because honestly, my home is not that accessible. It's really not. Um,
Not coming over, bro.
I there's probably like three rooms in my house you could make it to. Now, one of them is the washroom downstairs on the lower level.
What? What?
Yep.
One of
So
them is the accessible washroom downstairs.
yes, because it's so if you come into my house on the lower level,
Just toss me downstairs and
yeah,
it's
I'll
like,
just
I got
yep,
it. I got it.
yep. But it was built in the 40s, the early mid 40s,
Yeah.
and it's a Cape Cod two-story style, and it was not set up for. It's very small farmhouse style Cape Cod, so tiny little rooms, lots of land. Um,
There needs to be a book about, okay, so you live by yourself, da 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 da. And I don't even think there could be a book for this because there's so many different
there is,
aspects. Yeah.
there is, and then all of a sudden you realize that oh yeah, my toilet shutoff valve is not accessible.
I think you have to have an emergency number for every avenue of
Hmm.
destruction that could happen. What
Hmm.
if your window breaks? What are you going to do? Like, even if you're not disabled,
Right, right.
it's not even about the accessibility. It's, you got to just be prepared for anything in life.
To the best you can. Listen, you can prepare for 1,000 things, and then incident number 1,001 will occur. So it doesn't matter. You could prepare for it. Believe me, I've spent most of my lifetime under the phrase "be prepared."
Dude, I always say that too. I set up myself for success. I
Hmm.
my manager growing up used to say that to me. Set yourself up for success. I get it. And I do. But at your most vulnerable state, you're like, shit, I never thought of this. And yeah,
Yeah,
so
you can't prepare for everything.
I think I'm prepared now. Yeah. So I got a new toilet the next day, thank God. And my old one had a push button on the top where you have to
Right.
flush. That was so difficult to do. So now he gave me a new one where I just elbow flush. It's so great.
There you go. See, another modification.
So great.
Whatever works.
Thank God I smashed the old one.
It was time.
It was
And
time.
honestly, if it cracked that easy, it was probably
Dude,
time.
I smashed into it. Don't even say it was that easy.
Yeah, but it's not like,
Dude, thank God I hit my head on the back thing because if I
thank
didn't,
God.
I could have hit it a lot harder.
Did you
And
move that shelf or is it still
no,
there?
it's still there. I need it.
Maybe you should
Dude,
replace it with a pillow.
no, yeah, I should. I'm gonna put a foam thing on so I
Yeah.
can rest my head on it from now on.
You got to baby proof it.
Yeah, yeah.
Get all the sharp corners out.
Oh shit. And I was worried. You know why? Because 10 years ago, I heard that a lot of people with MS, when you bang your head, that's when a flare up or relapse happens. Have you ever heard of that?
No. And I would take issue with that statement. I don't think that's necessarily how that works. I'm sure it can contribute to it, but
Okay.
I just don't think that that's
I don't know the logic reasoning to that, but I
prob
heard it and that just
probably a traumatic, causing trauma to an area that is otherwise sensitive, would cause your immune system to go nuts even more so. But I can say that I've fallen and I have fallen and hit my head and we talked about it. I'd fallen up the stairs and hit my head on a concrete floor. And,
were you
uh,
okay?
yeah, I mean, yeah, but they literally just glued it back, the little flap. They just glued it. Um,
Yo, what the hell? Yo, I'm okay. Nothing happened to my head. I didn't even get a bump. It didn't even hurt that much when I hit
yeah,
it. It just I saw the light. But
yeah,
what
right.
are you talking about? The flap? Yo, I don't want to hear about this shit. What are you
I
talking
already
about?
talked about it. I already talked about it. I fell down some stairs. I hit my head on a concrete floor. Had to go to the hospital. There was a little flap of skin missing, so they just glued it back down. Um, but
Okay.
that did not cause a flare up. So
Okay. So just something I
it
heard.
didn't even cause a migraine, really.
Do you have any
So yeah,
pictures?
no, actually, I do not have any
I'm just
pictures of
kidding,
that.
man. I don't even want to see
Well, the
pictures.
hospital does because they took X-rays and CT scans and all that fun stuff because, once they hear that you have a history of MS and neurological stuff, they run every test.
Makes sense.
They get all the insurance money out of you that they can.
Just so you know, yes, that's right. I didn't even take that picture. Katrina's
No?
like, "Hey, do you want to see a picture of your broken porcelain or your
Good.
broken?" And I'm like, "Damn, you took a picture?" Because in the moment, I'm not thinking, "Yo, we got to take a picture. I got to show this to Nick. We got to, I'm just like, let's just get over."
This is fantastic content.
Yeah, no, no more washroom stories, please. Until June, July. Let's just
Give it a break for a little while.
please somebody else.
So, in other news, things are starting to fire back up for the MS Society down here on my end. We're starting to have meetings. I have like three Zoom meetings this week.
Nice.
We're starting to set up our year, what we're pushing for this year. We have a new society CEO. His big push is taking it back to grassroots. So it's like act locally, think locally, that kind of stuff. So how can
Okay.
you? So try not to. In his in the one of the meetings I was in, his speech was like, don't don't get lost in the national ideal. It's like, you don't have to worry about all that. Just worry about your little group, your little town, and then if we do with that, then that'll make. So he's bringing back community, which is nice. And his big push is awareness. He
Cool.
answered several times. It was like people were asking, "How can I help? What's my priority?" And his whole thing was awareness, awareness. Um, he said that he said without and it's what we say. Without awareness, you're not going to get any support. If people don't know, I mean, it's pretty basic, but that's his big push this year. So
Step by step, right? You can't get to the next step without that. But a lot of people would
right,
disagree. A lot of people say no.
yeah,
Or
everyone wants to go to the top.
Everyone has their own logic.
Yep. And then I have a meeting with the government relations committee that I'm on. That's coming up in a couple of days. So we're going to talk about our legislative priorities, which it'll be interesting to see what we're going after. It's always funding, so I'm sure it's going to be more of that, but I don't know what the funding priorities are for yet.
Okay, well, keep us
So
updated.
yeah, I'm excited about it. It's been nice now that honestly that I've been talking to all these people, all these staffers from the society during the off season. Um, they're really starting to get a better sense of where I can fit, which is nice. So
Dude, you got purpose right now, which is really cool.
thanks. I'm honestly I'm excited. I hope to get back to DC this year again. I hope to. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to host a local awareness event.
Okay.
And I've already sent an email to my county council, and I'm gonna send one to my town so that I'm gonna see if they can do proclamations for MS Awareness Week. And if they
Okay.
can do that, then I will definitely, there'll be video. I'll definitely make a whole bunch of content out of that because that's pretty important. And that would be really awesome to be um, representing the cause. You know,
So cool, man. What are you talking about?
and it's really all you got to do is ask. I mean, all you got to do is just send an email and say, "Hey," and the society provides you with like a proclamation template that they can just copy and paste. And so I hope they do it. And so maybe you'll see me with my suit and tie on, standing there, getting proclamations.
Nice. Let me know when you're going to go to DC. You think you're going to go to DC this year?
I hope so. They have to. They haven't formally invited anybody yet, and I kind of. I don't want to say I don't want to jinx it, but I don't want to jinx it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because it's. I don't want to feel. I don't want to feel greedy by asking, because I don't
Yeah.
even know how many people. I felt super lucky that I got invited at the last minute last
Yeah.
week, but it's going to be end of March if I go again. So it's always for MS awareness. So
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
so hopefully I get to be part of that again.
Cool, man. Yeah, I can't wait to hear about that. Hopefully it happens. And if it doesn't happen, whatever, man. Next
Yeah,
year,
just
you
keep
know,
on rolling.
still on this road. Yep.
I'll just every week on the show remind them that they made a mistake then by not bringing me down.
Nah, man.
That's all. I'm kidding.
Yeah, man.
Oh.
So,
So Terry, I see our guest is in the waiting room. Why
yeah.
don't you tell us a little bit about our guest today?
So Arnene, she reached out to us because she wants to use 40 below zero to basically come out that she has MS. She's not really
Really?
public about it. I know her immediate family knows about it, but she's keeping it kind of a secret from the public eye. She's not really
Okay.
on social media. She doesn't want to be on social media, hence, because she's very private about her life. So we can talk to her about that and what she's going through,
Wow.
you know, because we
Yeah,
have a huge community where we're open about it. And she just started going to groups and she's still closed about it. So
sure. Well, I feel pretty honored that she would use our show to do that.
totally.
Well, let's bring her in then. See what the deal is.
Hi, Nick.
Hi, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for being
It's
on the
nice to
show.
meet you as well.
Nick, Arnene, Nick, nice to meet you as well. And
Nice to meet
welcome, welcome. We're so
you. Thank
happy
you.
that you chose us to talk about your experience.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here. It's been a
Awesome.
while. It's been a while for me to come out. I was
Okay.
messing around and I noticed that you guys are not messing around.
That's it's very true.
I've been
You're
messing
awesome.
around for so long that I'm like, they're not messing around. Why am I? So let me have a chat with them.
Awesome.
Well,
Perfect.
let's start way back at the beginning. Um,
Sure.
Tell us about your diagnosis story if you're comfortable sharing that. What year, what was the symptom, all that fun stuff.
Well, it was about 23 years ago. I was in Jamaica. I lived in Jamaica, and I worked as an activities coordinator, and in the beach. And so I was having some sports organized, and I realized I'm like, why can't I shoot the ball anymore? So I noticed like that at the beginning initially, but I was still able to run and jump and do everything. I'm like, maybe I'm just getting old and my skills have left. So I became pregnant, so I wanted to come back to Canada to have the baby. And I noticed one day I couldn't close my eyes properly, and I thought I was having a stroke.
Mm,
So I ran to the emergency room. I'm like, I think I'm having a stroke. And they gave me all the tests necessary. Said, I don't think it's a stroke. But then a doctor came in and said, it looks like you may possibly have MS. I'm like, how? What are you talking about? So I just disregarded that information and I kept on with my day. And then I had a meeting at the MS clinic and they brought out some tissues and everything. And I was sitting there and they told me, yeah, it's been confirmed that I had MS. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to go back to work. And so I kind of ignored it. I've been messing around for all of these years and not admitting it to it.
sure.
Um, and now I'm like, okay, I gotta just admit to it. And it's okay. I'm sure there's other people who are dealing with the same thing as me. So I'm sure I could have people to talk to. So then I decided, yeah, it's probably better for me to just get over myself and come on out and just admit to it. I have this thing and it's not terrible. So
Yay.
that's the thing. That's the story. Yeah, I just thought I just wasn't able to shoot the ball anymore. I'm like, how come I can't even get it in the basket? It was really weird.
Sure.
Yeah, but it was just so unbelievable to me because even when I did the survey, like, how far can you walk? I'm like, I don't know, like I can just walk forever. I don't know. So it wasn't real to me because I was still able to walk, run, and dance and do all of that,
Sure.
work, and then gradually I went from the cane to the walker, and thankfully, last year I got a motorized wheelchair. So that has made me been able to be out there and
Give you
get
back your
out.
sense of independence that we were talking about earlier on the show.
Exactly.
Well, first of all, let me just acknowledge and say thank you for being so open to come onto the show and
Oh,
to
thank
share that
you.
story. Um, and I hope that it lets others know that you don't have to wait that long.
Yeah.
And there is a big community of us out here.
Yes,
Um,
I see that. That's
and
great.
we're pretty welcoming because
Yeah.
they let me in. So they'll let pretty much anyone in.
Oh, you guys are great. Yeah.
And we're the place for you to be comfortable because whatever symptoms you're going through, guaranteed we're going through the same thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like I gotta get over myself and realize I'm actually not the only one. It's pretty prevalent here in Man, it's cold out, Winterpeg.
He's from Manitoba. Um,
Yeah.
the first
So,
doctor that said that you may have MS, what tests did you go through for him just to say that?
well, she did like a flex. She did a reflex. So she hit my knee or my leg jumped, and then she looked in my eyes. She didn't confirm it, but she said it may be this. So I didn't have the MRI or anything yet. So she said I may be, and then when I got the MRI done, and then I went to the MS clinic, and then oh, the MRI shows like the lesions. So yeah, that was confirmed.
That
It
didn't
was a
take very long.
suspicion from the doctor after my stroke mishap that wasn't quite that. There was just a suggestion from the doctor that it could possibly be that.
Mm.
So, and I didn't believe her for 20 years. Now I believe her.
I had a question about the pregnancy.
Okay.
Did you have any symptoms during the pregnancy? Because I was told that during pregnancy, for the most part, um, you would go into remission until the pregnancy is over. I don't know if that's true for everybody, but did you have any
Um,
symptoms?
I suppose that's when my symptoms started. I believe I was pregnant still when I was working, and then that's when my whole technique, my skills were going away. I'm like,
Mm.
what's going on here?
Mhm.
So, yeah, that was it really
Okay.
for until the gradual. I need a cane now, and then I was still working with my not with my cane, but I was still able to work for a
Mhm.
while. I guess it's
Mhm.
been 2014 is when I had to hang it up,
Same
and
here. Same year.
yeah,
2014. Huh?
Yep.
It seems like you're in denial, like everybody else is.
absolutely,
You know.
I absolutely was. I absolutely was.
Mhm. What made you? I know, I know your family knows, but you were kind of private about your diagnosis to the public.
Yes.
What made you so private about it? Were you scared of the stigma of what did it?
Yes. Yeah, I was. And I would just thought like this wasn't me. Like I'm like Miss Basketball player. So that's who I am. I play basketball. Like that's what I do. So that kind of like this doesn't kind of go with my basketball. So it was
Mm.
in that's why I was in denial because I was so not used to that kind of just being sedentary and not being out and playing basketball. So like I don't it's not true. So it just became it's not true. So I can still pretend. Yeah. But at this point I can't pretend because I have to
Mm.
use a mobility chair to when I go out and or I have to use a walker. I'm like, I can't really fake this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah.
gets kind of tough to do that.
What would you say to somebody who was just diagnosed now? Like, do you have any advice for someone who's newly diagnosed? Because I know a lot of people who kind of fake it till they can't anymore.
Yeah. I would say it's okay. There's so many people who are dealing with it, and you're not alone, and there's support. There's absolutely a lot of support, offered, like we have the MS Society, and there are things to help. So it will be okay. It will be okay.
Did you just start going to these groups, support groups? I'm just curious,
I
like, what did you go for help in the past? Because do you know anyone with MS?
actually a lot of people, like
Okay,
I said, it's very prevalent here in Manitoba.
okay.
Um, I worked for home care. And ironically enough, most of the clients that I saw had MS, and I
Oh
would
wow.
go in there to help them. But this is at the time when I was still able, I had my mobility, and everything was fine, but I was helping people who had MS.
Mhm.
So a lot of people have MS in Manitoba. So I'm very aware of it, but I just didn't want to believe that it could possibly be me.
Are you on any maintenance medication, any disease modifying therapies at all?
I'm actually not on any medication. I like to do like more natural things. So I take a lot of like
Okay.
herbal things and a lot
Okay.
of teas and yeah.
I gotcha. So you
Yeah.
do like so you do like the pain reduction teas and the stress, the de-stressing kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
you like
I have that.
mindfulness and meditation and all that.
Right.
I
And I
get it.
have this Dr. Ho, which has been really fabulous. It's for if pain that I feel in my arm or my legs, I strap that on. And that's very helpful.
Yeah,
So other than the Dr. Ho and like my teas and my medicinal things, I haven't really been taking any prescription medication per se, like just vitamins and
sure.
such.
Yeah, there seems to be that there's like two schools of thought where it's a lot of people are either like fully pharmaceutical
Yeah.
or they're fully holistic. But I think that there's space for both of those things to work in concert. And it's really like we've said many times, it's really just as the disease takes a very personal course, the treatment has to match that. It's very personal to each individual, and we don't, and that's why judgment it should not be a part of it. Um, and you shouldn't, and people shouldn't look down on other people just because they're not doing what it is the same thing that you are. So
Yeah.
I totally understand and respect the holistic approach to things. So
Do you get influenced to take these prescriptive drugs? Does your doctor push you to take it? Does he suggest you should take a DMT, a disease modifying therapy?
Yeah, I did try one. It was suggested, this was a while ago. I did try it, but I noticed it wasn't really doing anything
Mm-hmm.
much. I mean, at the beginning, initially, it was okay. But I went from relapse remitting to like um, primary progressive.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't really going to work for me anymore anyway. So I find like just like the herbal stuff and the medicinal um, things that that we can use now have been more helpful.
sure.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same story, you know. When I first got diagnosed, I was the same way. I was like, and I pushed through it, didn't even focus, didn't put any attention to it. Because if I did, then it's real. And I didn't want it to be real.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
being in the healthcare, you saw people with MS. You must have seen it all around. You must have seen the worst. You
Oh,
must have,
for sure.
so that must have scared you too. Like you didn't want to end up.
Actually, because I did, my brain says like this is not because I had a client. She was actually bedbound, and
Mhm.
I'm like, this is so not me. I don't. I think they're mistaken because how does this make sense? I shouldn't be able to help her. I haven't like. So I was. It was so confusing to me because it took
Yeah,
a while for me to become like, I guess, debilitated as such, like in this
yeah,
space where I
yeah.
am now. So in the beginning, it was like so weird because I'm like, I'm running, I'm jumping, I'm doing all of these things that it didn't make sense to me. That's why I was mostly in denial because I was so physically still able. Yeah. So that was hard.
Sure.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about the so we call it the fall. So when the fall happens, so like when you get to the point where you can't hide it anymore,
Yeah.
um, it does hit your ego pretty hard because you lose a big sense of self.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you start to get into this space where you kind of spiral down because you don't even know who you are anymore. You don't even know which way is up. You just kind of do the bare minimum to get through your day just to survive. So it's 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 a tough space when you're there, and
Yeah.
you got to keep pushing through that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's because the best way is to accept it as soon as you know it, but it's hard because I
Hmm.
didn't
Yes.
accept it either. But the best way is to accept it and to start preparing yourself mentally,
Hmm.
physically, whatever, you know, because I'm in a chair now and I somewhat blame myself because I should have been using a walker in public, but I decided not to. So I was pushing myself. I was hiding all the symptoms.
Yeah.
You know, I had a huge ego. I didn't want people to know that I have a debilitating illness, you know?
Right. Yeah. I
So,
was the same way.
yeah,
Definitely. I understand for sure.
yeah. But I sucked at basketball. So that's a different story.
That's
I'd like to think
funny.
now I tell people, oh, I was a pro basketball player before I ended up in the chair. But that's a lie.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that, you know, I this conversation should be very enlightening to a lot of people because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are hiding it still. They
Yes.
might say I'm not hiding it, but are you in denial? Are you 100%, you know, accepting of what you have? And remember before we were talking about are you giving up or are you accepting?
Hmm.
Hmm.
It's like to me, I feel like okay, I had to give up into this position because I had no choice. It would have been easier if I accepted it 10 years prior.
Yes.
I don't know if that makes sense.
It
It
does.
does.
Mhm.
And honestly, there's a message in there for caregivers with people who are diagnosed. You know, you have to you have to let them know that it's okay to to not to not to give up, but to give in. There are things we have to give into, and it's
Mhm.
okay, to do that. And I think, with, like you had said, with the support network, with a good system, with good relatives, then you can do that easier. Um, so for the caregivers out there, pay attention to the people that you love that have this diagnosis,
Yeah.
and check in with them, because we're not going to say it out loud. We just push through.
That that's why I
Yeah.
feel like I'm a big advocate for that. So whenever someone tells me, "Oh, my sister's husband has MS," I'm always like, "Make sure
Yeah.
you make sure you get him to sit down, even if he's not tired." And I start to like advocate for that person that I don't even know that person, and I might be
Yeah.
saying the wrong things just because I'm overprotective.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
in your life, do you have the right support?
Absolutely. I live with my daughter, so she's wonderful. She helps. She's there a lot for me.
Good.
Um, yeah, my family really came through and helped me out with the chair for sure. Yeah, I have that. I have my sister, who, her and her husband. Thankfully, they have a home, Mr. and Mrs. Home Reno and decoration. They were managed to like do my floors for me and even everything out, so it's a lot easier for me to get by and stuff like that. So big
Good.
shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Home Renos for helping me with that. That was great. So without that's very helpful to have my floors all level. So yeah, I do definitely have strong support system. So that's great. So
Awesome.
I'm happy for that.
Awesome. Awesome. I love the artwork behind you, by the way. I have to
Oh, thank
mention
you.
that. That's really cool.
Jamaica, from Jamaica.
I figured I just, you know,
Yeah,
I've been to Jamaica twice. It's my favorite spot.
it's
When
beautiful.
I used to vacation.
It's too, the heat kills me.
Mm,
Heat is no good. Oh
yeah.
God. So that was killing me.
I used to think it was the humidity. It wasn't the heat, but I think it's both. They
It's
work hand in
both.
hand. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the sun, and the
Yeah.
sun is too shiny. It's like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sun
And
will ruin a
spicy
good
food
day.
has been bothering me as well. I don't know if that
Mm.
bothers you guys.
The what?
Spicy food? Spicy food?
You know, I don't know. I'm gonna look into that. I've heard of that before. I've heard of some spices too that people could be allergic to and they just don't know it unless they take some allergy tests. And so
Okay.
it's a possibility, you know.
I can't have anything with any spice. And that's so far from my food that we typically eat. It's mostly spicy. I can't eat that anymore,
Just
which
another thing.
sucks.
Mm. I might have to ask around and see what other people think of that.
Yeah, spicy
I'm
food.
curious. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're just
spicy.
stuck in the house with bland food.
Yeah,
Can't
pretty
go out.
much.
Can't go out in the sun. Can't go out in the cold.
Yeah, pretty much stuck. Yeah,
Yikes.
it just needs to be lukewarm. That's perfect for me, I think.
Arnene, thanks so much for fighting through the technical difficulties we had earlier and making it onto the
Thank,
show.
Thank you.
well, thank you very much.
Um, it is an absolute pleasure to hear your story, and thank you again for trusting us to bring it out to the world. We very much appreciate that.
I appreciate you too. Absolutely. Thank you for this. For sure.
Now
It
you're
was
part of the
great.
family.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah,
All right. Well, I will talk to you soon. We'll catch up, I'm sure.
absolutely. Well, thanks for having me.
Very welcome.
Definitely.
It was definitely our pleasure.
Okay.
All right, Warriors. It's been another week. Been a lot of fun. Terry, I will talk to you soon, brother.
I'll talk to you soon, man. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
So check us out at 40belowzero.com. That's 4 letter T below zero.com. Or feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Our email address is info@40belowzero.com. Our personal Instagram account are for Nix, it's Nix_V713. Or for Terry, it's what's_ms. Awesome. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. We'll talk soon.